listening to the PharmD Podcast Network.
This is the Sex PharmD podcast with your host, Dr. Nadia Archambault, licensed clinical pharmacist and certified sex therapist. With a focus on women's sexual health and wellness, Dr. A is here to cover important health topics and answer all of your questions about subjects that can be applied to pharmacy practice. And now, here's Dr. A.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sex PharmD on PharmD Podcast Network. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Jenna McDonough. She is a meditation and mindfulness teacher, energy and sound healer, and Reiki master. Welcome. And what else do you not do? I mean,
wear many hats, yes. I do all things.
Yeah, you do. You do a lot of different things. So, for our listeners here, there's a lot we're going to uncover. And I wanted to first start, of course, with about you, introduce yourself to everyone and a little bit about your background and your journey to how you got to where you are now.
Absolutely. So yes, I'm Jenna. I am a meditation and mindfulness teacher, a sound healer, and a Reiki master. And my journey with the healing arts really started in college. So I graduated from high school, left for college a few weeks later for summer session, and something inside me, I just inherently knew that I needed to find something to deal with this major life transition and being on your own for the first time and, coming right out of high school without a break, it's a lot. So I found yoga. That's how I found yoga. And I started practicing yoga through the university, like at the gym. And it really resonated with me. And it was something that I continued to do. So following college, I became an elementary school teacher, which again is like a high stress, high pressure job. Mm-hmm. And I was practicing yoga about 6 days a week. And then the owners of the yoga studio and I were chatting and they suggested, maybe you might want to consider being a yoga instructor. So I became a certified yoga instructor and I taught that in addition to elementary school. But throughout, I always had my own consciousness practice. So I worked with meditation teachers. I worked with consciousness coaches. I worked with the person who I got certified in yoga with. And I taught yoga and a little bit of meditation, but predominantly the physical practice of yoga. And then I had my own children and I continued with my own practice, but I didn't continue teaching. So I started doing some other things and I went to this spa that was a wellness spa and I fell in love with sound healing there. So I did this Reiki appointment and the person who did it was a horrible experience.
Oh, no.
Not good at all. But I knew this is something I need and something that I want to pursue further, but this is not the right person to do this with. And I was a little bit hesitant after that because it had been such a bad experience. So I thought, okay, let me go and become a level 1 Reiki practitioner, and then I can work on healing myself. And I just fell in love. So, it kind of spiraled from there. I had already done the yoga training and some of the meditation training. I fell in love with the sound healing and I started doing a lot of sound healing. And then I just kind of moved up until I became a Reiki master and it all kind of aligned. And so then I went back and studied meditation and mindfulness more in depth so that I could really hone my skills and be the best I could be at it. And it was really important for me to come at it from a trauma sensitive approach, because I think that a lot of people struggle with meditation for many reasons. But one of them is when you kind of go inside and you're doing that inner work, it can bring up a lot of that trauma and it can put you into further dysregulation, which is the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish when you're working with these healing arts practices. So that was kind of how it all unfolded. And since then I work with clients, I do sound baths, but I developed an app because it was really important to me to be able to meet people where they are. And I wanted them to have access to these healing arts practices, regardless of how much time or how little time they had, their geographic location, and their financial capabilities. So I developed this app with all these different range of products so that everyone would have access to live their best, most peaceful and present life.
I love that. What a beautiful story that is. I love it. I love it, listening to your whole journey and how you got to where you are. That's
Yes.
really cool. I mean, you come from a teaching background. I mean, that's
Yes.
in your blood, so that's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Inherently, I am a teacher. I love teaching. So it kind of all just fell into place for me. Yes, I don't teach elementary school anymore, but I still have the ability to work with kids. I get to work with adults and really just be of service to others.
I love that. That's great.
Thank
So
you.
I know that it's trauma centered, a lot of what you're doing. And, obviously there's so many things that happen to people throughout their lifetime, and a lot of things that happened during COVID also that just changed us as a society.
Yes.
And a lot of the patients that I've seen, I actually give them meditation homework to help them with so there's a couple different scenarios. So there can be a female who's had some sexual trauma, and so she needs to kind of get past that roadblock, that mental roadblock, because the female sex organ is here. So it starts here. So it's with the mind. And then also like anxiety, just anything that can cause anxiety with, having sex with their partner or in general. So that's why I thought it would be great to have you on to kind of talk about what you do. How do you specialize in trauma, patients who have had significant trauma, and how you help them, and people in general?
Absolutely. So we all have experienced trauma. Even children experience trauma. So, it's interesting that we all have it in some way, shape, or form. So the thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the energetic aspect of trauma. So while you can experience something, there's an energy that goes with that experience as well. And that energy can get stuck in different parts of your body. And when you don't move that energy out of your system, it can cause dis-ease and manifest as physical ailments. So that's a big portion of it. When you work with meditation and mindfulness, it affects your entire being. So it affects how you interact with others. It is your own mental health and inner peace. That's a big component of it as well. Anxiety, stress. It's really how you handle life in general. So when you have these kind of practices, there is significant research that shows if you consistently practice meditation every day for 56 days in a row, it will change the gray matter in your brain. So it increases the gray matter that you want for focus, concentration, relaxation, and it reduces the gray matter that causes things like anxiety and panic and stress. So across the board, meditation and mindfulness is great for your entire being. So when it comes to trauma, I suggest always, because I am a mental health professional, but I am not a medical mental health professional. So if you have experienced a trauma, then you need to first see someone who is a licensed therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. Then we work with, you get through that initial trauma phase, but you're still going to have that wound. And when you go out in the world, things are going to happen that press on that wound, and you have the reaction. So what are we doing to help us with that reaction? We're putting these practices into place so that we're less reactive. So when something happens, instead of just that going into either fight, flight, freeze, you're going to pause before you react. And it's a big portion of that is perspective as well. So, when you're in this event, this traumatic event, that's all you can see. You have tunnel vision. But the gift of perspective that you receive when you start to really hone these practices and are consistent with them is that you realize this may not matter in 5 minutes, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, like it's not as big of a deal. I like to compare it to an iPhone. When you take a picture with an iPhone and you're in there in that, I have the iPhone 15. So you're in there at 5X or 2X and you're really like looking at all the details. If you take a picture of yourself, you're like, ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that. If you zoom out, you're at 1X. Well, everything seems a little bit calmer and not less of a big deal. And it's more about the overall picture. And you come out to that 0.5X, and it's really like, oh, that's a beautiful picture. I'm not so worried about like that stray hair or whatever it is. And that's the same thing that you get when you have a dedicated meditation practice as well. So as far as the stuck energy of a trauma goes, there's a lot of different ways that you can move that energy out of your system. You can use different types of meditation. You can use sound healing with vibrational healing, with vibration. You can use breath work. You can do traditional energy healing work, such as Reiki. So there's a multitude of ways, and it's just finding what fits best for you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is such a great explanation of trauma and how it gets literally just stuck. It's just stuck in you, For those listeners that are not familiar with sound energy and Reiki, if you could explain that, that would be amazing. So
as far as sound healing goes, we all have a vibration to us, right? And everything on earth has a vibration. Even though you see this rock that seems like it's just there, it has its own resonance and vibration as well. So I predominantly work with crystal bowls. They're made of quartz. So they have the same energetic properties as a crystal would have. So you cleanse them the same way. I personally like to Reiki the bowls before I get started, just to help increase the healing energy as well. So when you work with different healing instruments, those instruments have their own vibration, and your body and that vibration start to align. So each of my bowls that I work with, I have many bowls, but I have 7 that are connected to the chakra system, which is something that everybody has. So you have 7 chakras. Each one is a different part of your being. I've worked with people before where I play the bowl and it doesn't move. And I'm, you're playing and it doesn't want to move because the person who you're playing for has a block in that particular chakra. And you want to help move that stagnant energy, and you can balance the chakra system using these vibrational patterns within sound healing. So it's really very cool.
Wow. I didn't know it could get stuck like that. I mean, I've had that in like a yoga class and things like that, but that's amazing that you've had it like stuck for someone because they're stuck.
I've had, it's interesting. If you're doing a in-person sound bath, especially if it's in a small group or one-on-one, you can use a pendulum over each of the chakras, and you can see with the pendulum how much movement you have, if it's a blocked chakra, and then you can work to unstick that energy that way.
Wow. That's amazing. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. It's very, very cool. And then, when you're talking about sexual trauma, that would be your sacral chakra, which is located below your belly button. And that chakra is really connected to sensuality and pleasure and sexuality. So when you've had some kind of a trauma, you might have that, more than likely you will have that energy stored in that area. So you want to do things to help move the energy and make sure that you're keeping it balanced if you know that that's something that you struggle with.
Yeah, that is so true. Because I only thought that the chakras were relevant with Reiki, but I didn't realize it was that's amazing. I didn't even make the connection. I know.
You can use it. I like to use meditation and sound healing together. So you could focus on a singular chakra, or you can work on balancing the whole chakra system. So it's very conducive to what you need and when you need it. So what you need today and what you experience today might be completely different than what you experience tomorrow. So it's just because energy is always moving, things are always happening. There's a lot to take into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as far as Reiki goes, that's hand crystal energy healing.
So as far as there's so many different types of energy healing that you can work with, and you can use crystals to help balance energy. You can use crystals while you're meditating. So you could take a crystal that is related to whatever it is that you're currently working on. I can Reiki that crystal to set an intention for you, and then you can hold it while you're doing your meditation. So you can do things like that. Reiki is you can do it either in the auric field, which is above the body, or some Reiki practitioners will place their hands on your body as well. And you're basically just moving energy out of your body. And if you want to get really into it, and depending on the level of healer that you're working with, they do things like psychic surgery where they pull entities out and all that stuff. But that's a whole other.
That's intense.
Yeah, it can get crazy for sure. I don't personally practice that type of Reiki. I use it more in an overall sense to create the right practice for the individual.
Yeah, that's great. But I love that the whole sound bath. I didn't even know that. That's like I'm always learning something new on my on my interviews. So I love learning that. That's amazing. I usually give my patients homework to do like meditation exercises. So as far as I know that you have a whole program that you have, because a lot of it's accountability. I can tell them to do something, but they're not going to do it. So they need an app or they need some form of guidance, not just like looking up some random stuff online.
Exactly. So the thing about meditation is most people come to meditation when something bigger is going on within their lives. They're not thinking, oh, I'm going to just start this practice. Something usually happens, a big stressful event, or a doctor tells them to do it, or something of that nature, which is something I'm actually very passionate about, is teaching children about emotional intelligence. Because if we lay the groundwork for kids and it becomes second nature to them, then as they grow and become adults, they'll already have the foundation to be able to self-regulate and have present moment awareness and all the other benefits that go along with meditation. So usually it's someone who comes to me because something else is going on. I like to suggest, and everyone hates this, you pick what time you wake up in the morning and you set your alarm clock for 30 minutes before that. And that's a great way to start your day and to be consistent with it. So 21 days to build a habit, which is important. 56 days to start to see the changes in your brain, but you'll notice immediate benefits and results from the first time you have a meditation practice. And it's really just building more and more on that and finding what works for you. And honestly, most people aren't consistent. They come in and out of meditation. I myself spent years studying all this. And there was a long period of time where I wasn't consistent with my meditation practice, where I would come in and out of it. And that's totally normal. And something is better than nothing. And having the skills and knowing you have that in your back pocket if something comes up is really important.
Yeah. And, I do like that idea. 21 days consistency to build a habit. That's so true. It really is.
And it doesn't have to necessarily, you start from where you are. So if it seems like a big undertaking to meditate for 20 minutes, then start with 5 minutes or start with 3 minutes or start with a mindfulness exercise like brushing your teeth. So you're going to be in tune with your five senses as you're brushing your teeth. I have meditations and mindfulness practices on the app to help you integrate into your life, because you're not going to do something that changes up your whole routine right out of the gate. You have to figure out what works for you, and that'll help you be consistent as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you just start little. I think it's intimidating for people when they're like, oh, I have to dedicate a half an hour. Like, no, just start with 5 minutes. Start with a thought.
And also, what I've run into is most people hear, oh, meditation. Meditation means sitting and not thinking about anything. And that's really intimidating for most people. And they think, oh my God, I can't sit and not think about anything. Well, there's so many different opportunities. You can do a walking meditation. You can do a body scan meditation. I love loving kindness meditations. If you're having a problem with someone and they're just like really getting under your skin, do a loving kindness meditation. It really does help, and you won't be as bothered by that person, So there's so many options that there's something for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of yoga being moving meditation. I'll tell them especially if they don't exercise, because I feel like exercise is so important too for the mind. I'll encourage them to do a yoga class, because then they're getting both in one, Yeah.
Even small somatic reset exercises can be beneficial as well. If you're feeling really angry and upset, stomp your feet, march in place, go start with big, heavy footsteps. Maybe they're quick and then they start to slow down, and then your body starts to slow down and your mind starts to slow down. I like to find ways to integrate it into your life. So I'll give you a perfect example. I was a teacher. I was an ESC teacher. So every half an hour I changed classrooms. So that's a lot of transitions. So my key was every time I went to open a door handle and walk into a new classroom, I would take 3 deep breaths just to center myself and to reset before I walked into that next classroom. Nothing was going on. Nothing was bothering me. And I was just setting myself up for the next part of my day. And it can be something that simple and easy.
I love that. Oh, that's such a great idea. Or like before going into a meeting, like take 3 breaths.
Yes. There's so much science behind sighing. So I love a falling out breath where you inhale through your nose and on your exhalation, you sigh and you just kind of let your whole body fall and let go so that you can move on to the next part of your day, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, breath work is so important, and it definitely goes hand in hand with the meditation practice also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think people hear breath work and it can be intimidating as well, but breath work can be very simple. It can just be 3 deep breaths. It can be a box breath. You don't have to get crazy. You just have to remember to stop and to breathe. Whatever that looks like, whatever you do is going to be great. That's the biggest part of meditation and mindfulness. There's no good, bad, right, wrong. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're very knowledgeable about pelvic floor health and pelvic health. And I do see women who have pelvic floor pain referred to me by physical therapists, which I didn't even know was a thing until I started doing sex therapy. And it's an awful thing that women have to go through, when they have pelvic pain and they can't have sex because of it, and they're just in pain in general. Right. As far as what's your experience with it, as far as what you've seen
Well, as far as meditation goes, meditation can help with physical pain. And a lot of that, that is going to be more in your root chakra, which would be the grounding portion of the chakra system, and not feeling safe. So it's really in conjunction with doing all of these other things like the physical therapy and probably seeing a doctor and whatever else that they prescribe for you. It's really focusing in on feeling safe. And there's so many different options for that as well, as far as even just an affirmation. Having an affirmation to help you feel safe and grounded, taking the time to really root into the ground or the surface you're sitting on and feeling at one with the earth. and being able to calm your mind so that your muscles can calm. And, you know, we think about muscles like our arms and our legs, but really you hold tension wherever you hold tension. So if you've had some kind of negative experience with having to do with your sexual health, that's where you're really going to hold all of that tension. So even just talking to those muscles and visualizing them relaxing is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I've usually suggested to, women, and I have them do when they're using their pelvic dilators from physical therapy, to do breath work, some type of meditation, some type of visualization technique. And I think it definitely helps them for sure. And that's a powerful thing.
So when you work with breath work, and especially with moving stuck energy or with releasing muscle tension, I like to think of it as a jellyfish. If you've ever seen a jellyfish move, how they kind of contract and expand. Mm-hmm. So as you're inhaling, you're imagining that expansion of the muscles or the stuck energy. And then as you're exhaling, kind of the contraction. So you're not going to be able to necessarily move all of that out in one session. You're just trying to begin to restore movement to wherever that is, whether it's the muscle or the stuck energy somewhere else in your body. You're restoring movement so that when it is ready and your body feels safe, it can start to release it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that analogy of the jellyfish. That's great.
It's a good visualization. I'm very visual. I like to explain things in ways that people will understand and seeing,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, and I appreciate you coming on here to talk about these things, because I think it's very brave, which is sad, to talk. We have, to talk about things that are taboo now. Right. For women they feel uncomfortable talking about it. And I think that people like yourself who are openly helping and talking about it is such a powerful thing for women, because they're scared to talk about it. So, or they don't even know about it.
Right. And really that's the case with any sort of trauma. And I like to be a safe space for people that if they want to share, they can, but it's not necessary to let me in on whatever this trauma that you've been through is. We can feel into your body through meditation and find where you're feeling it in your body. Where do you feel that emotion, and identifying it and giving it a color, a texture, a shape, and helping to understand it further so that you can feel comfortable to let it go, because you may not even realize it's something you're holding on to consciously. It could be deep in your subconscious.
Yes, absolutely. That's so true. It really is. As far as, so I want to talk more about like your practice and the company that you have, Soul Candy Wellbeing. Is that the full name of it?
Soul Candy Wellbeing, yes.
I love it. Okay, so I've seen your website. I love it. It's so fun.
Thank you.
And it's not intimidating, and that's what I like about it. It's not like this boring thing where people are like, oh, I don't know about, it's fun, That
was kind of, this can be a serious subject, and it can be very intimidating. And I understand firsthand personally how intimidating that can be, because I think something that's really important is we're all human. And this was something I struggled with. When I first started doing this and I was going to yoga teacher training, I thought of the person who was doing the training as, this guru, and they must be perfect. And I don't want to mess up. But as time went by and as I got to know the people within this field, we're all human. I can have a meditation practice every single day and still lose it once in a while, but it happens less frequently. But we're all, at the end of the day, no one is perfect. We're all doing the best that we can. And I think that that can be very intimidating, especially when you hear things like Sanskrit words or whatever. So I really wanted to make it accessible to everyone and in a fun way. And the reason that I named my company Soul Candy Wellbeing is I guess they still are around, but you know, the candy stores where you go and you take the scoops and make a mix. So that was kind of my thought, you know, you make this beautiful mix of all these different things, whether it's meditation, mindfulness, sound healing, energy healing, somatic resets, and you take from all the different bins of what serves you, what you enjoy, what you like, and you make this mix. And it just reminded me of that bag of candy. So that's what I named it Soul Candy Wellbeing. And kind of the internal feeling you get from doing these practices is peace and relaxation and happiness. And, you know, that's sort of how you feel about candy as well. So Soul Candy.
I love it. I love it. We'll definitely have that in the show notes for your website. I always like to ask you pick 3. So what would be your 3 top things that you like to do for your own, if you're having a really stressful day, what are like 3 things that you like to do?
Well, I am a big bath taker. I just love water in general. So swimming pools, oceans, any of that stuff. But I love a bath. And for me, I like to create the environment. So it's the lighting of the candle. It's bringing in the senses with the bath salts. And then I will do something within that. I mean, I've done it where I have 7 different crystals that coordinate with the 7 chakras. I put them in the bathtub with me and I do meditation that way. And I personally really enjoy things like that as well. So
that's awesome. I love that idea with the crystals in the bathtub. How cool.
Yes. You can put them in your water. You can put them in your water bottle and have amplify your healing through the water that you make with the crystals. There's so many different options and it doesn't have to be so serious. It can be fun, you know. I think that's the important part of it, is to make it fun and accessible.
100%. And it's like taking care of you and making it fun and, you know, getting mentally back to where you want to be. I love that. That's awesome. I know that we covered a lot of different things. Was there anything else you wanted to share? I know we talked about a lot of things, but definitely like how to get in touch with you and, you know, what you're doing.
So yes, you can get in touch with me through my website, which is soulcandywellbeing.com. I also have an app. So the reason for the app is I just feel like that's the easiest way to have access to everything. And I think that I do have social media as well. And I put a lot of content and videos, and I like to do pop culture references. So I did one for Ted Lasso recently that, you know, being able to visualize and see in real life context how things show up and what they are and how to then deal with them. So there is a lot of that online, but I think a lot of anxiety is coming from all of these social media. Like we're just constantly scrolling. We're very exposed. It's a lot of noise. So taking you out of that and putting you in this safe space, while it's still technology, it's its own thing in the app over there. So within the app, I have everything from a monthly subscription, but my big thing is education and teaching people. So it's not just you're getting these audio recordings, you're also getting videos to help you teach you as well. So because of the trauma sensitivity aspect of things, I don't want anyone to go into dysregulation while doing a meditation practice. So it was really important to me to give everyone skills before they even get to that point, so that if it comes up, you have a plan in place. Because I feel like that in itself, just having a plan and knowing like, okay, if I start to get anxious, I can open my eyes. I can stand up. I can feel my feet on the floor. I can get up and walk around. Just having that helps eliminate a lot of the anxiety and potential dysregulation. Yes. So that's, you know, the monthly subscription. And then there's some mini courses. So if you're like, oh, sound healing, I don't know anything about that, I'd like to learn more, there's a mini course that's just on sound healing. And then there's courses that cover sound healing, meditation, mindfulness, and energy healing with infographics and audio recordings and videos, so that you can kind of get a taste for all the different things that are available to you, so you can start to build that practice. And then I have the big signature course called Highly Meditated, which will take you through 6 different types of meditation and really help you build a meditation practice to get you to that 56 days in a row.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So there's a multitude of things there. I also do one-on-one sessions, group sessions. I do sound baths, and all of that information can be found on the website as well.
So you do that in person. Do you also do it on like I don't want to say telehealth, but on Zoom?
Yes. So
Great. Okay.
Yes, I do both ways. Obviously, being in person is a immersive experience, and it's fantastic, but you still get all of the benefits doing it virtually as well. So I do both. I've done both and had great results from doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, even if they make an appointment with you just to hold them accountable, like, okay, I haven't been doing meditation in a while, let me just do a refresher with Jenna. Like, I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
Especially, I think that the accountability part is really important, because if you want an accountability partner, I will text you every day and say, did you do your meditation practice yet? And for some people, making that financial investment also pushes them to the next level. Sometimes you just need someone to help you figure it out. Like, sometimes we don't see things that other people can see. We're too close to it. So I like to work with people on lifestyle design, where we look at the wheel of life and we see where these stressors are, and we find solutions for them that work within their schedule, and they insert them. And then we try it, and then we come back together and say, okay, well, this worked or this didn't work. I've worked with people where I do custom meditations as well. If you're working towards something specifically, where we can do something. I've done weight loss ones. I've done them for kids, like Pokemon, things like that.
Aww.
So that's great as well. And a lot with manifestation and journaling, and not necessarily like a specific thing, but for example, if you're working with someone with their sexual health and feeling more comfortable, manifesting what that looks like, what that feels like, what that sounds like, things of that nature. Not, oh, I want to be with this particular person, but what the overall experience that you're looking to create.
Oh, yes. It's so true. I love that.
Yeah. So many good things.
Yeah. So I'll include all of this in the show notes too for our listeners. This has been really incredible. And I'll definitely be referring patients to you, as far as if they need any type of energy healing, anything that you offer is great for them. And I love the app idea. I think that's really, really awesome too.
Thank you. Yes, I very much appreciate it. I mean, there are so many benefits to your clients just to be able to prepare, to release that trauma, also within their experiences, so that, because it's very easy to get lost in your thoughts, and just working from a mindfulness perspective, which would be just engaging your senses, going through them one at a time, feeling the sheets on your skin, the air conditioning on your skin, what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? Just to keep you in that moment, rather than maybe going into a past experience that would trigger a trauma and a dysregulation.
Right. Absolutely. Well, this has been incredible. Thank you so much. And I've known you for a long time now. I was like, when did I first meet Jen? I was like trying to think back, and it's so awesome to like see everything that you've been doing and having you on here, and like where we're in life. And yeah, it's really cool. Yes. So I love that you've been able to take the time out, and thank you so much. And then I'm excited for more that you're going to be offering, and and for our listeners out there to check out all your stuff. It's really amazing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure. And I would if anyone needs anything, please feel free to reach out. You can also email me at info@soulcandywellbeing.com if you have any questions. I'm happy to be of service.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadia.